Hey everyone, it's Liana from LemonLee Pattern Making, and this is the kickoff video of an introduction to CLO, which is a 3D pattern making software, a sewing pattern making software. So if you've had any interest in making your own costumes, cosplays, concert wear, literally all things fun and theatrical, this is the place to be. And to kick off the series, I figured what a better way than to do a Q&A. It's going to be an in-depth Q&A all about CLO, how I use it, what it's used for, how you can use it, and yeah, so let's just get into it. So if you don't know me, let me introduce myself. My name's Liana, and I created LemonLee Pattern Making with the intention to teach people how to make their own sewing patterns, whether it be costumes, cosplays, concert wear, like I said. I'm just here to inspire and hopefully get you on your feet where you need to be able to do it by yourself. I'm an ex-costume pattern maker for the Walt Disney Company Parks and Resorts side. I was on the character and entertainment development team, so you might have seen a little bit of my work walking around the parks. I'm also the CEO of LemonLee Studios, which is corsets and harnesses, tote bags, all inspired by cinematic universes. And then I also have LemonLee B-side, which is the same thing, but music. So think K-pop, regular pop, anything like concert wear. And one last thing that I want to mention before we jump right into it is that I do have a Patreon, and the Patreon is for anyone who wants to, one, support me, I appreciate it, and number two, join the CLO Club, essentially. And so Patreon will be like where my hub is for all things pattern making. So that way, I know social media can get kind of messy sometimes. That one will be strictly pattern making and CLO related things, tips, tricks, extra tutorials. And also I have a tier in there that will allow you access to the CLO files that I will be making on these videos. Probably like 2 a month, but it depends on what gets voted for. So that's also going to be something you can look forward to. And when I mean access to the files, I mean hopefully once we get you on your feet, learning how to use CLO and how to size things to your body. Anything that I make, you can download it to your computer, size it to your body, print it out, and make it. And now that that introduction is over, let's go ahead and get into the video. So firstly, I want to say that CLO is a sibling to Marvelous Designer, which you may or may not have heard of if you're in the gaming or animation industry. I have not used Marvelous Designer, so I cannot say exactly what Marvelous Designer does compared to CLO, but from what I do know about CLO is CLO has the extra abilities to fine-tune sewing patterns with seam allowance, doing multiple sizes, custom fit things. So although you can probably make patterns, skins when you're in Marvelous Designer, you can do the same thing in CLO, but again for sewing patterns, to be able to print these sewing patterns out and sew them up for you to wear. I've personally made many things in CLO. I use CLO literally every single day, whether it be for me to get some creative energy out or for me to actually make the sewing patterns for my small business that I have. Every single corset that I've designed, I've made fully in CLO because it's literally so easy. And aside from that, I also have made many costumes while I was at the Walt Disney Company, along with costumes for myself and or clients. And then also just side note, like you don't have to just make clothes in CLO. You can make tote bags, purses. I think you can even make shoes, but we're not gonna get into that because it's different. But you can make purses, tote bags. I've made a few tote bags in CLO, and I've also made a couple of hats. So the way that I want to answer this question is the general process. So in CLO, you're able to make your sewing patterns fully from scratch or from slopers, blocks, if you will. And once you've done that, you can fine tune them, add your seam allowance, literally whatever you want to do to modify your sewing patterns. But CLO has the capability to either export it as a PDF, which is what I do, and I have a 24-inch large format printer, so I lay out all my pattern pieces with the width of 24, so that way I can just print here at home. But you can also send those PDFs also to like FedEx or Office Depot, anywhere that has like a plotter printer or a large format printer. 24 inches at the max is fine, and they can print your sewing patterns for you. Another thing that you're able to do is export them as a DXF, which allows you to be able to import them to the Gerber software, which is a huge pattern making software, kind of like the one that's mostly used everywhere. So like if you're a company and you all use the Gerber AccuMark system, you are able to import your sewing patterns from CLO into Gerber, which that's what I used to do on the daily at Disney because we mostly worked in Gerber, but for specific projects that I wanted to work in 3D, I could do so. Another thing you could do is projectors are slowly coming into play, so you can just project your sewing patterns down onto the table, cut them, have your scale square. Scale squares in general are important no matter which route you choose to export your patterns, so always try to include a scale square depending on how you're going to export your pieces. And of course, another way that you can bring your sewing patterns out of your computer is with your own home printer with letter size paper, or if you had bigger paper, it's really up to you. Either using Illustrator or Excel, you can tile the images. I believe I have a video on that. I'll link it if I do. If I don't, I will make a video on that. I've tiled before in Excel and Illustrator. Illustrator I think is easier because you can add more shapes and more lines and see the artboards exactly as they are, compared to Excel, which is just a little bit more tedious, but both doable. Illustrator is more expensive. Or also otherwise, you can export your pattern pieces individually if they're small enough to fit on a computer paper. For example, like one of my corset pieces can be like this big, and if I lost it, I can just print it again on my regular printer inside my room. It's kind of like a tricky answer. The way I see it is if you're someone who's good at picking up softwares, it actually might come very easy to you. The other thing that I want to say is, so CLO comes along with blocks, slopers, of t-shirts, shirts, jackets, and there are many places you can find sewing patterns that you can then digitize into CLO. So even if you don't know how things go together, it's kind of like, I truly believe you can use your best judgment, especially with the features CLO has. You are really able to see what something would look like if you made it. And it also doesn't hurt to try, especially with CLO. They have a 30-day free trial, which is exciting. And the other thing that I want to say is if you are already knowledgeable in the sewing field and the pattern making field, like you have a degree in it, you've gone to school for a little bit for it, you are self-taught in ways, you've made many things before in your life, I think it will also be technically easy for you because you're getting a good visual on what you're doing and your head is already processing what it's supposed to be. And it's like, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's okay because you will eventually pick up on certain things, especially when it comes to clothing. There are so many things that can be custom to the user, from where seams are positioned, from what style lines look like. Like, designers can have all the fun in the world. So this is just like that fun little thing where you get to be the pattern maker to bring your own designs to life and really kind of begin the understanding of how much work goes into the actual sewing patterns, and or how much little work can go into the sewing patterns if it's something that you've already created that you're modifying to look a little bit different. An example being, if you have a unitard base pattern, you can make endless designs of different types of unitards, like sewn or artwork, in CLO for you to be able to use, not even having to know how it was put together in the first place, you know? All while having all these sewing patterns in your computer with many rough drafts as you go, not a paper wasted. You get what I mean? Because one of the main pros for CLO is being able to fine-tune your sewing patterns before you even print them out. I think that's where it also specifically shines, because there's been many moments for me where back in the day, I'd make my sewing patterns, I'd make a muslin, I'd try it on. I have to alter it, remake the muslin, sew it again, try it on. If I have to start all over from scratch because I didn't like it, there goes that whole project in the garbage, in the recycle, whatever it may be. Compared to CLO, I can do it many times and then just print out my final decision of a design. I also have the ability to just also create for fun and not ever print out sewing patterns, but it's something I want to get out of my head. So it's like, once you pick up the basics, especially when it comes to the tools that we use every day, and also kind of ignore the tools that you don't need because they're not going to be necessary to you when it comes to making paper sewing patterns, then I think you will also be all right. And so you will just start to memorize and come up with different ways to do things just with the things that CLO gives you. Like, I hope that makes sense. I know it's kind of complicated to explain, but essentially, I think anyone can learn this, whether you've gone to school or not. If you have, you just come with that much more understanding of how to put things together, so you will probably be faster. If you have a fashion background and a tech background where you're just good at picking up softwares, you will probably have an easier time. I can make full costumes within 30 minutes, depending on what it is, how complicated it is. Even if it's the most complicated costume, then it'll probably take me an hour, maybe 2, maybe 3, but it just depends, you know. But basic answer, I think anybody could learn it, genuinely. The way that I'm going to be teaching y'all with these videos is with extreme repetition. So every time I'm using a tool or making a move, I will give y'all exact reasons as to why I'm doing it. I will show y'all the details up close with zoom-ins and descriptions. I will also make sure that if there's a question, I can answer it via a video, either on TikTok or Instagram. But also within these YouTube videos, they'll just be super informative because we'll be working together. So y'all can just follow along. And then also on top of that, like I said, if you join my Patreon, you can download the file itself and really get into the costume that I just made. Because then you can have the costume and you can really see the patterns up close and personal, change the colors and just have fun with it, modify patterns. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want with my patterns. But I do believe by always repeating the types of tools that I use, you'll eventually be able to catch on and use them by yourself in no time. And that does include how I print things and export things and make avatar renderings and pictures and model fashion walks. Like, I'll be doing all of that, and I will constantly always give y'all how I did it over and over and over and over and over again. When it comes to this question, occasionally when I post videos about 3D pattern making or something, I will get a few comments that are usually like, oh, I'm a 2D pattern maker or flat pattern for life, or like it's a specific club or something, but it really isn't. The way I see it is I've done both. I've been a pattern maker for over 10 years, and it's not really eliminating 2D patterning. It's just adding another tool to your toolbox, and why wouldn't you want to add another tool to your toolbox? When it comes to flat patterning, there is more potential for error and waste, so that's why I do like 3D for that cause. Of course, when it comes to draping, then I would of course rather 2D because it's not as like easy in 3D, especially when it comes to wanting to do pleats and really just play with the designs with your hand, you know, like really rouge and do all that stuff. It's more of a hassle to do it in 3D than it is just to do it on a dress form. So that is where I would recommend 2D, but when it comes to literally anything else, like I can't think of the last time I flat patterned in the past like 2 years, ever since I started my own business. And I've made so many things, from jackets to dresses, many corsets obviously, tote bags. The list is literally endless in things that I've made in 3D and non-existent in what I've made in 2D since I started my own business. Essentially, again, if you are a 2D pattern maker, it's awesome. You can continue being one, or you can just add a new tool to your roster. Because if you 2D pattern make, again, you will pick up CLO significantly easier than other people might, because you understand fit, you understand the way patterns look, you understand when an armhole looks a little wonky. So especially when it comes to 2D versus 3D, it really, I don't think, should be a competition. It's just adding another tool if you want it, or using one versus the other. It really shouldn't be like a competition at the end of the day, especially here on LemonLee Pattern Making. It's all about costumes and entertainment and fun and just creating stuff for yourself with no judgment, because this is a judgment-free zone. If you ever find someone who's like being negative about the skills that you have, maybe they just wish they had it. So, yeah. CLO has many different avatars, and one of the most amazing things that I think about CLO is how many sizes they also come with. And not only do they come with a bunch of sizes, but they also come with a avatar editor, so that way you can also modify a specific size. An example being, you can have a female avatar that you're using for a female fit look, and you can have her be the standard super slender tall fashion model, or you can size her to a size 8, and then once you're in the size 8, you can also give her a larger chest or larger hips or smaller chests or smaller hips. You can do literally anything that you want, any type of avatar that you want. It has a complete roster of female avatars, men avatars, children avatars, and infant avatars. And not only that, but they also have like basic general shapes, so that way you can make handbags if you wanted. And again, not only that, which one of the videos that I have coming very soon is how to make your own avatar, which we will use CLO's avatars and modify them to our measurements. And I'll give you all the specifics that I think would be ideal, and that'll be a whole video on its own. So not only does CLO come with a roster of avatars, quote, dress forms, you can make clothes for everybody and everybody, all while also having your very own avatar to make custom fit things to your own body. You absolutely can, and I actually know there was a huge wave of NFT users using CLO to make NFTs, so that's something you can get into on your own, but here we will only focus on sewing patterns and sewing related things. I will get you to the point of being able to do like a fashion model walk and a decent render, but we're not going to go too much beyond that. But you can watch other people's videos and learn way more about what CLO can do and all the different textures you can get and make it look more realistic and create whole campaigns with just CLO to feature your clothing. You'll just have to find somebody that can teach that to you, whereas I, again, will be your pattern maker teacher. It truly depends on how you look at it. The way that I see it is that CLO actually is the more affordable option compared to like the Gerber AccuMark system, which is thousands of dollars. But also that's more corporate, you know, and CLO can be more individual. They are a monthly subscription, so it's $50 a month. Or you can get CLO annually for $450, which is significantly cheaper than $50 a month. So that could also be where instead you make your investment. But also if you're younger and you have to choose your subscriptions wisely, CLO actually does have student discounts, and they're significant student discounts. I would highly encourage you to take advantage of those. For the year, it's $225 versus for the month, it's $25 a month. You can just check out CLO's website to see more information on that. It's literally right in the plans. But definitely if you're a student, I highly suggest you use that discount. Otherwise, the other thing that I know is CLO does have that 30-day free trial, and I do have content coming out that is going to be based solely on how to utilize that 30-day free trial for someone who just wants or needs their own slopers, because it's really hard to find sewing patterns that are like perfectly fit to your body. I will be having a video that will come out that has like a bulk of like a checklist of things you can do within 30 days to get every type of pattern that you possibly could need to set you up for costumes for life, you know, so keep a lookout for that. Yeah, I think so. As I mentioned before throughout this video, is I will be having a Patreon for supporters and for the CLO Club, and for, technically it's the club. You get what I mean? Ugh, I hate puns, I'm sorry. Essentially, yes, so I will have the Patreon, and that's where I will have all the pattern updates. I will also be giving y'all so much content over there. I will also be uploading lots of cheat sheets and exclusive content for y'all. And hopefully, like, as this thing grows, I can have more gifts for y'all, because I would love nothing more. I only have a couple of tiers for now. Things might change as I evolve. If any of y'all follow me from my corset type social media, you'll know that I got really swamped. I'm still swamped, but I am slowly doing like a transition process. So I'm finishing off orders here while picking up patterning here, so that way then this one can take off, and I'll eventually just have corsets every now and then, but that's having its own complete transition overhaul that not many people even know about in general, so that's just something to look forward to. But as far as pattern making goes, definitely Patreon will be the hub. I will also be posting a lot on Instagram at LemonLee Pattern Making, same for TikTok, and I'll also be posting a lot from B-Side. And so that's where you can find the music-inspired, K-pop-inspired types of looks, and then LemonLee Pattern Making, you'll see updates about pattern making, and then LemonLee Studios at the same time. Even just saying hello here is a nice support. Just being able to inspire you is my bare minimum, so I appreciate you regardless. I will start by saying I hope you found this video very informative and or maybe intrigued you to want to learn CLO, and if you did, then you can join me every Sunday with new videos. I'll also occasionally be posting studio vlogs that go along with LemonLee Studios, along with live streaming on TikTok for K-pop nights on the last Thursdays of every month. At the end of the day, I just want to get you comfortable enough to make your own costumes and your own cosplays and your own clothes in general. Of course, anything that I teach you can be applied to regular clothes. You don't have to do it just with costuming, but costuming is just where my heart is at. If you still are unsure about what CLO might be, or if you have any extra questions, just leave them down below and I'll try to make mini video responses, or if there's enough questions, I can make another video. Thank you so much for joining me throughout this pretty much 20-minute process. Oh my gosh. But also that's just like a little taste, because future videos will be significantly longer, most likely. But for the most part, I might do both, where I put a time lapse of the videos and I also make informative videos about it. So just keep a lookout. But like I said, new videos every Sunday, random videos throughout the week, lots of content on Instagram and TikTok coming soon. Otherwise, lovelies, it is time to call it a day, and I will see you on the next video on Sunday. So keep a lookout, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.